All right, the light is red. That means it's time to go live. It means it's time for what I like to call the BBC, not the British one, the Brent Broadcasting Channel. And we're here for another week, as I think this is going on month 7 of kind of being sheltering in place and staying low and haven't really gone anywhere but to get food. I don't know what else to do but do this. But I'm glad I'm here to do this, and I'm glad I'm here to do this with a few of my friends. Now, it's been about 7 months.
Yeah.
Closing in on 7 months since I had the opportunity to moderate this really cool panel at the AXS Summit, and that's Ambient Experience Summit, for those of you who might not know. But it was all about diversity and inclusion and equality and lack thereof to a certain extent. And so I was moderating these 2 young ladies who I like to call, and it was all from a respect standpoint, the Notorious Ones. And given what just happened over the weekend, I want to make sure people know it was out of respect that I called them the Notorious KBC, which is Kate Bradley Turnus, who is the CEO of Lately, and the Notorious JVZ. See how it all rhymes? That's good.
Very good.
Jen Vandy Zandy, who is the editor-in-chief of SAP's great content site. What exactly is the name of that site?
Thanks for asking. The URL is thefutureofcommerce.com, and the name of the site is The Future of Customer Engagement and Experience, because we updated it, to fit experience.
And I think that's a good update to make.
Yeah.
So I thought we had such a great panel, and I think I remember the kind of the reaction that we were getting. That you guys were getting. I was just there to set it up and get out the way, folks. Now that it's like 7 months later, and we've been through a couple of things, this little pandemic thing that's going on. But I wanted to circle back around and just see where things are today, where the things have changed. Sometimes it feels like 7 months is not a long time, but after being home for 7 months, kind of feels like it has been a long time. So I thought it'll be cool just to catch up, maybe see where we are. But before we do that, let me just throw some comments we're getting here. Hello from Denver. All right.
Denver.
And this guy is all the way from Germany. Sven, our buddy Sven.
Hey,
here.
I was just talking on LinkedIn with Sven. Hey, Sven.
Sven is a good guy.
Cool. Nice.
Yes. Oh, look at this.
What are we calling you? Are you the Notorious BL? What?
Yeah, I'm just Brent.
I'm going to say G. I'm going to say BLG for great.
Great. All right. So I wanted to do something before we actually talked. Okay. I have I have a couple of clips from the conference that we were at the panel that we were on. And I thought it'd be good just to kind of remember a couple of things that each of you said. So I'm going to do this. I hope this works. Let's see. Please work. I really need this to work. We're going to see. We're going to play the first clip, and let's see if this actually works. Bam. Bam. And here we go. Bam. Oh, you need some sound.
I think some of the first conferences and things that I went to, I was like, where are the women? And then a couple of years later, heard somebody say, there aren't women in positions of power because we actually don't see women in positions of power. And I really took that to heart. And I thought, I'm doing this thing that's not just customer facing, but industry facing. And I made a really tough assessment. I went through the site and actually did an assessment of how many images of women were on there. And the images of women that were on the site were literally all of them on retail posts about shopping, and they were shopping. And the images of men, were CEO, C-suite execs. So then I said, no. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and, change this because I'm the one hitting the buttons. So I started going through in that process a couple of years ago, trying to swap out images. But actually at that point in time, even Getty and iStock, I'd look for images of CEO and it was all white men. And, you know, it's like, even in the land where images are staged, you could just pretend that there's equality.
There were no pretend women CEOs?
No, there weren't.
That's amazing.
And so we really made a measured effort to rebrand the site, rename it, did a new logo, changed out all the images. There was also a big business outcome. We saw our metrics going up, time on site going up. 99% of our archives are viewed every day. So, which is pretty incredible for a site that's 5 years old.
Yeah.
But really also started paying attention to who our contributors were and trying to level that out, putting women at the table and at the forefront, pursuing them as thought leaders.
All right. Let me bring everybody back. Well, wait a minute. Let me bring, somehow the notorious JVZ kind of disappeared there, but now we got her back.
Yeah, I think it was when you started the video that I
So do you remember that part? Do you remember that part of the?
I do remember that part, and I guess I'll say today that I'm really grateful that we're having this conversation today, because I think it's actually more relevant than it was even back then.
Wow.
We see, with what's happened this year, that it's primarily women who are losing their jobs, who are having to choose between a career or being home. And we're also seeing the progress of women who fought their whole lives to make change. The possibility of all of those changes over all of those decades being reversed within a matter of weeks. And I think it's just incredibly important now that people, we're not talking we're talking about something much more important at this point. And I think that companies and businesses have a moral obligation, because a lot of people feel like our leadership has failed. And if we're in a position where someone so accomplished, Justice Ginsburg passing away and everything that she accomplished being wiped away in a short amount of time, I think it's really important for people to understand how perilous things feel, and the tensions of this year. It's been a horrible year overall. The racial inequity, the injustices, and it feels like things are really at a boiling point. And I do think that seeing brands and companies start to step up, fill in where government has failed, is promising. It's sad. I was also a political science major, and it is sad, but it's what's needed right now, because they have more access to people. I read yesterday Foot Locker is turning their stores into voter registration sites.
Wow.
We need to be really cognizant of who we have in the room, of who we're promoting, of what we're saying. Just today, Tom Rafferty, he had shared SAP had a list of the top 40 followed people at SAP, and there were 4 women on it. And I messaged Tom and said, "Hey, I'm super uncomfortable asking you this, but you're on this list and there's only 4 women on it. Would you think about, using your platform and your power and your privilege to help us make this equitable?" And he was fantastic. He immediately said yes, which I think is the mark of leadership, right? Immediately realizing you have this ability, you can start making these changes, and he did. And that's, I think, a great example of what matters, and what matters especially right now.
That was something you said, by the way, Jen, in Atlanta, that resonated with me so much, was that you have to look to the people in power to lift you up, right? I mean, that's the deal. So this sounds so obvious, but that's why you can't go with anger, right? You still need them,
Right.
you
Right.
know, the proverbial them.
Mhm.
And it's so important to remember that. It's something that I say it all the time when I'm having conversations with people who are helping me. And I just say, thanks for lifting me up. You know,
Mhm.
a girl needs that.
Mhm.
Woman needs that, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Interesting. During the pandemic, you heard a lot about how digital transformation is being accelerated across all these companies who've been meaning to do it, but because of the pandemic, it has been accelerated. That they know they got to do it now. They know they got to do it now. Are you seeing any acceleration in some of the things that you were just talking about? Like, are you seeing more companies actually, making change or in the areas that we're just talking about? Are you seeing them, when they see things pointed out to them, like in your instance, you pointed it out and you saw immediate action. Are you seeing that happen because of what's taking place with the pandemic, that everything is all these changes that were maybe slowly starting to make their way into the mainstream? Are you seeing any acceleration because of what's taking place right now?
I think there's an acceleration because of the feeling of, quite honestly, the precipice that we're sitting on, right? Every day to have to wonder what's going to happen today. Yesterday, hearing that they're declaring a state of emergency before announcing the verdict for Breonna Taylor. That's traumatic, right, for Black people. They're only imagining what's going to come sometime this week.
Right.
I think the acceleration is that companies are recognizing they really need actionable change versus like marketing about a topic, right? Actually making the promotions, actually saying, we're going to promote, and we're not going to promote just in marketing or communications, right? We're going to promote women in other positions. We're going to go into these diverse areas and find people who are disadvantaged and maybe just didn't have the right opportunities. We do see that. I think that that's an acceleration. I also think it's a good strategy because something that I've noticed is while I'm sad and overcome, I'm sad about the uncertainty of the future for my daughters. That generation, they're not sad, they are angry. And it's it's very different to those two things are different. And I think that companies are realizing we've got to step up and help these generations because it is morally on us. It is on us to decide what we're leaving, and that means speaking up, being uncomfortable, constantly pointing out that changes need to be made. I wrote a post this week, where I said it's hard in the day of personal brand, right? To really take a strong stance or say something, but I think that we're programmed to think that there's nothing worth putting everything on the line for. But I think that we're seeing that is actually necessary, and companies are making genuine moves towards helping to level the playing field, which I guess is encouraging. But I think overall the state of things, it's difficult. But I do see more women reaching out and supporting other women and kind of lending a hand, because it also brings out the best in people, right?
That's what I'm seeing too, Jen. I mean, because I think, in case everybody doesn't know, Jen works with a very large company. I work for a very small company, right? So the movement I see is not going to be at a larger scale generally. But I'm seeing women actually help each other, which before it was really a lot of talk, I felt like, honestly. I mean, I see that in women venture capitalists all the time. And I felt like that it was a waste of my time, frankly, to speak with most of them. They were harder. They're making it harder for me than their male counterparts. But the conversations I've been having in the last 4 months feel really genuine, like people actually putting their money where their mouth is, women doing it, right? interestingly enough, there's this slinky thing happening in the world, right? There's like really bad things happening and then really good things happening as a result, right? And just keeping up with the slinky is exhausting, as you were kind of pointing out. And I was laughing about that and thinking about the eye roll, like you and I were talking about what's like to look at each other and have that knowing look. And Lauren and I, who's on LinkedIn now, she's my right-hand woman, and we were on a call with a man. I was about to say gentleman, but he wasn't a gentleman the other day. And we just gave each other the look, and we were typing then behind the scenes in Slack, but it was very clear that this person was talking to us in a way that he wouldn't talk to a man. And before, I wouldn't have known to point that out. Right? But right away, I saw it, I flagged it, I knew it was the deal. And I wasn't able to stand up and be like, hey, what you're doing is lame. But I was able to cut the call off early and be like, you know what? This doesn't seem like it's a love match. I got places to go. So do you. Goodbye. And that felt really good just to even have the wherewithal to do that. And oh shucks, we lost Jen. And and there she comes back.
Issues with that.
Oh, good.
Good, I don't know. Back. Okay, there you. Okay.
There she is. Yeah. But anyways, I was thinking about you, Jen, because like that, it's Lauren and I. Yeah, Lauren knows. You just give the look, and women know it, right? You can be in a crowded place and somebody says something dumb, and you look over and we're all like, yeah, right.
Just so us dudes know what the look is.
You have it. You got the freeze frame.
that's the one that Jen sent over that captures like it's time for the dudes to shut up look, and that's the look, folks. So fellas, memorize this look, because believe me, it's gonna hit you at some point in time.
Yeah.
I'm going to play this one clip too of you, Notorious KBC, because you also had a moment that resonated well past the 30 seconds that it took you to say it. So let me do this.
What was it? I can't remember.
Oh, you'll remember it in a second. Here we go.
Only 2% of all the female-founded companies get venture funding. 2%. Which means, I'm pretty awesome.
And,
I don't say so myself.
And let me add to that, because you gave me another stat on top of that one. Tell me that one.
Oh, and if you're Black, it's like 0.001%. Black female, forget it. Yeah, it's abysmal.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring it back. Now it's interesting because over the last couple of weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I've had an opportunity to speak to 3 different female tech CEOs.
Nice.
And one, Clara Shy from Hearsay Systems, Melissa Bradley from Eureka, and just last week it was Susan Marshall from Torchlight. And I know I asked Clara because Hearsay has been around for like a decade. I've known her for a while. And of course, they've raised a pretty significant amount of money over those years. And recently they had, I think they raised some from Salesforce. And so I asked her, how difficult is it now versus 10 years ago when you're starting out? And she said, it's still difficult. We're still looked at it a certain way. And I know that our male counterparts don't get looked at that way, but we were able to still get things done we need to get done. I had a chance to talk to Melissa Bradley, and just in case you don't know who she is, she's co-founder of Eureka, and that's like an SMB platform, mentorship platform. And they recently just raised 8.6 million.
Nice.
And I know Salesforce Ventures was a part of that as well. And I know Susan Marshall from Torchlight, they also announced a recent investment. So these are 3 women that are CEOs, co-CEOs, tech companies that have raised money. And even though they've been able to raise money, they still say, it's tough.
It's tough.
And particularly like Melissa said, she's Black and her target audience is underrepresented entrepreneurs. And because their platform is like a mentorship platform that help those kind of folks succeed. And, and they're partnering with companies like Facebook and Salesforce and Google on, once these kind of social unrest broke out and the pandemic broke out, and small businesses are really having difficulties, and the underrepresented women and people of color tech CEOs, they're really really getting it. So a lot of these companies started putting together these programs where it's a mix of money and mentorship, and Eureka actually is one of those companies that all these big timers are working with to help administer these programs. And she was like, yeah, there's a lot more money out there, but it's not just about money. It's about having the people in your network that can help you use the money the right way to grow the business. So there's a lot of that out there, but are you seeing that? Are you feeling that? Or have you seen anything over the past 7 months that allows you to say, maybe this is a new day, maybe we're heading faster in the right direction with this?
I don't know about women or Black women specifically, but I do know this, that in the investment world, there's a lot of investments being had. COVID accelerated that. There was a big pause where everybody pulled back and then boom. And so everyone I know is raising pretty easily, which is really interesting. And it's partly there's a lot of surmising why people are bored. What else are they doing from home? All these things. I have seen some of the accelerators I've been in, which sounds like some of those women have been in as well, have made an adamant change to be more inclusive. But that's been happening for the last few years. I was delighted to see a Black female entrepreneur on a demo day recently. She killed it. And you could see in the chat, they vote who's number one. And I voted for her because I know how hard she has to work. I'd put my money on that woman any day. She's killing it, right? And then, I was talking to a Black entrepreneur, my friend Harold, who we were talking about, different strategies and whatever. And I was very frank with him. And I said, I hope you're going to leverage the fact that you're Black. And he's like, oh, hell yes, I am. And I was like, it's because I leverage the fact that I'm a woman. In the atmosphere, you have to use, there's no shame in using what you got, right? If you're an animal and you have claws, you use them or whatever it is, And so I think that's interesting because it's accepted and acknowledged right now, whether, whatever diversity box you're in. So I think that's great that people appreciate it and are expecting it. I still think, and Jen could probably agree, that there's this kind of there's a showmanship that's expected of you and people want to watch, right? They want to see what happens, right? That's more interesting than genuinely lifting you up. They want to know, you're going to make it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They want you to do the dance. There's a dance.
Right.
I hate that.
It is hard.
It's annoying.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing about that is there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, that if you're a woman or if you're a Black or a Hispanic or some other person of color, they held it against you that you couldn't get those things because of that. So it's interesting to say that now it looks like there's opportunities to, see that as a positive instead of a deadly negative at this point.
It's definitely from the peer pressure. There's, the social aspect is really pushing that forward. What I can say still happens is, and we talked about this in Atlanta, and I know Jen has seen this too, it's the way the questions are asked. So they're going to ask me a negative question and ask a man a positive question. So for me, they'll ask, how are you going to hold on to the customers you have? And they'll ask the man, how do you plan on growing the company? Right. So I'm seeing that still. That it's very annoying, and there's a TED talk about this. It's amazing. It's the onus is on me to learn to answer the question with a positive answer. So just to ignore that negative question and be like, so I plan on growing the company, right, by XYZ, even though he asked me, a negative question, or women ask the same. That's what's amazing is women will ask just as negative questions to men. So the one thing about that, which I do like, is that, I'm scrappy and creative, and I like the challenge, right? And so I think it's interesting to like be put to that task. Obviously, if I didn't like, I wouldn't be doing this, but I do feel more than ever before, it's my job to tell other women that's what's happening to them. And to make a point to do that, you know, and that's hard a little bit too, because you don't want to be like, wah, 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 I'm getting the shaft because I'm a woman, you know. But like the other day I was on an interview with Tim Salau, I think that's his last name. And he was asking me, we're talking about questions like this. And I think that there was a direct question, like, you know, why? I had said, you know, I check all the boxes. I'm checking them like crazy. And I still like have these challenges. And he said, why? And I was like, because I have boobs. That's what I said. And that's it, right? It's that simple.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. There's so many virtual events going on, like seems like there's 4 or 5 going on at a time. Are we seeing more women speakers, more women keynoters at these virtual events? Because back when we were doing the face-to-face thing, Jen, I mean, it was like you were pretty definitive that was not the case going on. So have you seen anything that shows a different spin on it now that all these virtual events are going on?
Yes, that is, I think that's one positive thing that's happened, definitely, is that there's a cognizant recognition. It's not one person saying, could we get a woman on here? Maybe. They're planning the topics and the content around the audiences, right? Versus just featuring. So I really do think that there is an effort to include them, and I guess to take away an action piece out of this is when you're asked to be on a panel, ask what the diversity and what the makeup is, and say, you know, I've started responding to requests, and you know, by saying it doesn't look like you have any people of color on this panel, I'm not interested in attending or participating. And a couple of them have messaged me back and said, okay, that really hit hard. You know, we do need to try better. But I think it's that bravery of, and it's not bravery, right? It's just.
That's awesome.
Like supporting other people through your actions when people aren't watching. Right?
In a direct way. Like, I mean, so I just want to point out, I was on I was watching a webinar, and there was in the chat, and it was a diversity webinar, and it was talking about different, you know, high level different things. And I asked very directly, like, what actually can I do? And I got a lot of pushback around that. It was like, well, you can, you know, read this or watch this, I was like, that feels so light, you know, but I love that, Jen. Thank you.
But we do get tricked into thinking we can't change things, and we can make those small changes incrementally that add up, right? So I do think the next panel that they have will probably be more diverse. And we can all do that.
You did that. So. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's think about life after the pandemic. What do you hope to see once we get through this? When it comes to this area, do you think that there's this acceleration in certain aspects of what we're talking about? You both seen that you felt something, you've seen something. Do you expect to see, you know, more movement, accelerated movement, or a fallback once we all get out of the bubble? What do you expect to see? What do you hope to see? Each of you.
Jen, you go first. You go first, Jen.
Well, I hope to see that these things keep getting pushed forward. You know, I said we're at a point in time where it's not enough to hold the line. We have to advance it. And I think that this year has shown us we have to keep doing that. I expect that the companies that are investing in this and that are, you know, that have stopped spending on social media, right, and that are taking these very public stances, it would be hard for them to retreat. And I think it's sincere. And I think something that's been very nice this year is, you know, generally in tech, work super competitive, right? So summoning the name of a competitor is, we don't do that, but it didn't feel like that this year. It felt like we were all just pulling together for the same team, which was humanity. And that was very nice to see. And I think that once you have that spirit and you remember what's at the base of each of us, that changes you forever. And so I still do have a lot of hope. But we need help because, as I said, hope is not a strategy. We right now, we need people right now taking whatever actions they can to advance this line.
Yeah. So yes, I feel hopeful, but I mean, that's just my normal state of being.
Mm-hmm.
I think like it's interesting because Jen is so good at speaking on a leader macro level, and my head is more in a different, is in a bubble. I mean, I am in a bubble. I live 2 hours north of the city in the country. I mean, and I'm a white middle-class female. I mean, right. And I'm in tech startup land and like, I've raised millions of dollars. So like there's, I mean, I get it. Like I'm in this other weird place. I'm excited about the invention that I see all around me. Whether it's how to have friends over, social distancing, and people with different kind of fire pits and, takeout and all that stuff. I mean, it is exciting to see people figure it out. It's annoying to me that we just figured that out and now it's going to be winter time and we don't know how to hang out with people in the cold just yet. I like the fact that there's demo days now that are global and that the accelerators I was in, nobody cares if you're in New York or Silicon Valley anymore. So I think that's really, really cool. I like that because the excuses go away. Right. So I feel that in our business and marketing, there's a new mindset of total availability and acceptability of new ideas in a way that I haven't seen before. And I've been pushing new ideas for 6 years now, really pretty adamantly. So that's super exciting to me. And there's these crazy windows, that are open and you just got to know to go through them and take that risk. I also think though, the most important thing that I'm seeing is that macro, what's happening in the macro is too stressful for me personally to sometimes acknowledge, just being really honest with you. That's just how I operate. I haven't watched the news in almost 15 years because I can't handle it. I didn't watch 9/11, any of that. My psyche is just sort of too weak to handle that. So, but I'm very interested on focusing on what's happening in people's lives outside of work, right? So we all spend a lot of time in the screen. I'm pissed at StreamYard. Where's the little magical button that makes my face look better that Zoom has? Can they do that for me here? I mean, Jesus Christ. But what I'm learning to do even more is ask people how they are and what's going on. We started this call and I told you guys something really personal. I asked my parents to leave and not in a nice way, right? This has been a really crappy summer for me, like you guys have as well, but added on the personal thing, right? Lots of personal things. I don't have kids, so I'm not dealing with that, but like I'm watching other people deal with it. And there's these layers. It's this layer of stuff happening on top of all the other craziness. How many people do you know that are getting divorced or think they might be? A lot of people, right? And so not only the acknowledgement of that, but the willingness to talk about it is amazing. And in a way to do it where, hi, business call, we're going to start the call for a couple minutes. Everyone's just going to like give us a piece of information. And what's incredible, I find, is the business that's getting done as a result of that is like faster, better, stronger, smarter, more powerful, more useful. It's mind blowing, right?
Wow. You're both right. I mean, there's so much going on and a lot of it is people are feeling it internally. And sometimes, it comes out in various ways, but I will say this, and I'm seeing, some positive steps too. And I'm going to just shout out SAP, because they had me involved in some of those things. And
Nice.
I mean, before, let's see, I'd say before this, I don't recall a company focusing on CX from a inclusive and equality standpoint as to why are there not more people of color involved in creating the experiences or creating the products that are sold to them. I mean,
Mhm.
it's usually just straight diversity,
Mhm.
or straight equality, but now we're talking about that from a CX perspective. That was really cool to see. And shout out Margot Hogben, and of course Jen, the notorious JVZ, on that one. That was one of the things
Dynamic duo.
that's
there.
right. So, and then, I mean, and I'm shouting that out, but there are other examples
Mhm.
too. So my hope is that these are not just moments, but they are movements that
Mhm.
carry on for long past whatever this particular virus or social unrest period happens. What I like you guys all both said, I think it's on all of us to make sure that happens. It's not just on one set of people. We all can do things, but we do need everybody involved. So I believe that, and I think if we're able to kind of make some good out of this particular time period, or 2020 generally, because I mean, it sucked.
It sucks.
Yeah. So if
Yes.
we can take some positive thing out of that, then it makes going through all this at least worthwhile. So I'm hopeful, and I will really be hopeful that in the next 6 months, when we come back and do this call again, we're all feeling better about things. That would be great. That would be a great start.
I do think that, I know this sounds kind of weird, but I think that whether it's the universe or God or luck or whatever it is, like the right people are in the right place at the right time. And we're either the people that are here to bear this, to move it forward, to lead it. Like I'm proud to be in this group of people,
Mhm. Mhm.
for sure.
Me
I'm
too.
so glad I got a chance to moderate the panel of the Notorious Ones. You know, I know I'm kidding because I just like saying the Notorious Ones, but it's true. I really did enjoy being a part of that panel and having that kind of conversation, seeing the impact it had on the audience, and then being able to. I mean, we've stayed in touch. All three of us have stayed in touch since then, and then being able to do this, and no doubt being able to do this, 6 months out, a year out, to see, because I just want to see how things are progressing, and get your guys' take. I mean, everybody has their own personal opinions, but being able to share that with you guys is really important to me. So I just want to thank you guys again for making time to do this today. And 2020 has done a job on all of us, and we need to kind of come together so that we can make it out of this damn year.
Mhm.
and look forward to better years ahead. So thank you both,
Thank you.
KBC and JVZ, the Notorious Ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, Jen.
You
Love
too.
you, Bryce.
All right,
Thank you.
we're gonna go now, but I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be talking to somebody about something. It's the BBC. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.